Okay, hello. It's, what is today, the 19th? Yeah, Tuesday, July 19th, 7:05, and this is the meeting of the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. I'll call this meeting to order. Could we have, can you hear me?
Is your mic on?
It is. Maybe I'll cheat. Could we have a roll call?
Bill Brown,
Here.
Kara Dudek,
Here.
Audrey Ashee,
Here.
Susan Jones,
Here.
Nancy Westcott,
Here.
Sartak Prasad,
Present.
Kat Trotter for John Zeman,
Here.
Bruce Michelson, Annie Adams. All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. First, are there any additions to the agenda? We do have one deletion. Bruce Michelson didn't make it back from vacation in time, so he won't be presenting the e-bike presentation. Will be put off another month probably. Any additions? Okay. Next is approval of the minutes from I guess May. Does anybody have any corrections to the minutes? If not, is there a motion for approval?
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next is public input. Other than presentations, there aren't any other members of the public here, so there's no public input. Next is progress on our BPAC goals, and I think Audrey, this is where you had some kind of presentation?
Yeah, but I'm perfectly happy to discuss other goals too if there's any other update. Otherwise, I have a brief, very quick update on the parking and bike lanes ordinance that we talked about on the goals.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, we don't have anything formal on that. John's not here tonight, so he was going to kind of lead that discussion, I think. And with other members absent, we could just go over what you had.
Okay, I'm just going to go pretty quickly. As you guys know, I found this on our website. So exciting that Bike Urbana. I know we're going to be looking towards an update of our website, but it's always great to keep in mind that. And recently, I think, did you see that too, Bill? There was a Realtor.com website that ranked Urbana as the most affordable outdoor living. I don't know if other people saw that. I'll forward it. Oh, it was pretty cool. It was they looked for 10 medium-sized cities using the whole nation, but in terms of affordability, they ended up in the Midwest and for outdoor friendliness. And they basically contacted the League of American Bicyclists and asked them for input. And so Urbana came to the top with affordability of a median house value, a price of $165,000, and then but gold level friendly, and all that. And they actually talked to a Champaign representative, but they, how quickly these things are thrown together. And as far as outdoor, the only thing was you had to be within, I think, 3 hours of a national park, which Indiana Dunes was it. Madison was number 2 at 400,000. I'll send it to you guys. So I'm just pointing out, our bike friendliness makes us, on the national radar. I think many of you probably saw this or heard about the horrific loss of a 3-year-old when there was a truck parked in the bike lane and she went around, the mother with the child in the bike seat, went around the truck and got hit by another truck. And so, we don't have Cynthia now to make these comments, but in lieu of that, we'll have Cynthia's comment here that it could happen any day here due to flagrant violation of the law and vehicles parked in the bike lanes, especially Green Street, MCOR, please take pictures and report the drivers so that we will have a record of the violations. So then the question came up, someone saw what appeared to be, and I actually have a question in to verify it, what appeared to be the UI police ticketing someone over by Eikenberry for being parked in the bike lane. And I've got a question into U of I police about that, but it raised the question, does Urbana have an ordinance prohibiting bike lane parking? Nope. Well, Eikenberry is in Champaign. Patrick Wade, who is the spokesperson for the U of I police, said he's not aware of any Urbana city ordinance, but he thinks Champaign has this ordinance, which does apply in his opinion. And so whether that particular ordinance, this is the only ordinance, by the way, addressing bike lanes parking in Champaign. So it's probably it. And if they were indeed ticketing, the UI police, that is, Champaign police say they are ticketing. If the UI police were ticketing, it was under that ordinance, under the authority of that ordinance. So here was Tom's mailbag shortly after that comment in Facebook, illegal parking. Individuals parking in bike lanes along Green Street are doing so illegally, said Champaign Police Patrol Lieutenant Andre Davis. The Champaign Police Department and Public Works work proactively to police illegal parking throughout the city, and they are happy to respond if someone will call it in. So it does look like Champaign is getting some action in this direction, presumably from just that very small ordinance you saw there. Then we have Urbana, another story, where we spent quite a lot of money on the MCOR project, and here we have a semi parked by Hendrick's house. And while this particular problem may or may not be recurring, I don't know if they rearranged their loading in the back. It's a quite heavy truck. It's parked in the bike lanes are not built to withstand heavy loads like this. It's a completely different strength, which I'm going to go over in a second, for driveways, for streets, and for sidewalks and bike lanes. He's also parked his wheel there right on the joint, possibly contributing to some breakdown there. I haven't done a lot of research on this, but there's joint faulting. Those who've had some geology know what a fault is, and extra stress from the axle load applied directly on the edge of the joint. And Bill found this schematic here of what the potentially the construction specs are, which are actually quite good. But again, the bike lane is not built to withstand that load. As you can see, it's 6-inch compared to 8-inch for the driveway and 12-inch for the street. And these are the standards from a civil engineering course. Again, 4-inch minimum for driveways, 7 to 9 for commercial and industrial driveways. So that 8 inches that the U of I has on MCOR is good. It's between 7 and 9 for commercial, but that truck was not on the driveway. Unfortunately, there was one pretty close, but I guess he didn't want to block it. Also, the axle weight, and I'm not going to hazard a guess as to what the equivalent single axle load was in that particular case, but as you can just see imagine from looking at this picture, it's not necessarily even, and it's kind of ugly. And you saw the rear end of that truck there adding a load. Oops. So finally, I want to talk for us to propose. I'd like to ask that one be brought to us to consider, but it is possible for us to draft a potential ordinance too. Strangely, there's been some confusion because the rules of the road certainly sound like you can't park in a bike lane. If you read down there to the, marked buffer, barrel protected, it doesn't say and, protected bike lane, it would sound like that would be, sufficient. The state law, But in fact, it's not in the Illinois Vehicle Code, and there was conversation with Patrick Wade about this. It's not found in the Illinois Vehicle Code, even though it's in the rules of the road, so they aren't going to write tickets for it. But they are for Champaign because Champaign added this clarification to to their ordinance, the simple one that we discussed before, and Patrick actually forwarded that, as you saw. So, and it says at any place where official signs prohibit stopping, standing, or parking, which you would do if you have that ordinance in the code. So that's where that project stands. And I think we could move forward on sending a suggested resolution or ordinance to the council. And that we can't do it this one, I don't think, because we don't have it on the agenda specifically, but maybe the next meeting.
That makes sense.
What do you think? So, discussion.
Yeah, I don't know, that Champaign one isn't actually very clear either. It almost sounds like they're saying no skateboarding and bicycle lanes.
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily have to copy that exact one, but that does appear to be the authority which they're quoting, because there is nothing else in the code that we found.
Yeah. I think
So it
if
appears
we
they're
just use-
operating under that.
If we use the rules of the road as an example and just say,
Yeah.
you shall not, that parking is prohibited in a marked, buffered, or barrel protected bike lane, that
Right.
might be enough.
Yeah, it
Um,
does seem strange. Yeah, it's not in the vehicle code,
But
a
I think
strange thing.
some of the cases that, that bug us aren't really parking, they're loading zones, or loading, temporary loading. Like on Green Street, obviously there was an alternative. They could have gone around the corner, they could have gone in back and used the loading dock. In some areas, like the other day I noticed on, I think it was Washington, somebody was moving, so there was one of those big Allied moving vans. There's no place else to put those. So, you just have to deal with that and merge into traffic and go around. But yeah, we should definitely need something on the
Well-
books that they can enforce.
It says stopping, standing, or parking, so, having a moving van, wouldn't that be stopping and standing?
Well, perhaps if there's a person actively loading, that's different than if because presumably they're also keeping an eye out. That might be a big assumption because they probably
Yeah.
go in, but if they're actively loading, then they're probably there as opposed to it's parked.
Yeah, but I think if we had that on the books, then at least the officers could use their discretion and say, look, there are other alternatives here. You can pull into your driveway, you can go around the corner, you don't need to be in this bike lane. And then they could ticket the person.
Right, because right now it just seems they have no matter how flagrant the violation is, they don't have any authority.
Okay, well that actually would be a pretty simple ordinance to propose, probably.
And it being straight from the rules of the road,
Yeah. So does that fit into one of our goals?
Yes,
Okay,
it was one of the goals.
all right.
Uh-huh.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Any
Okay.
other discussion on that? Or
What?
any other discussion, questions?
So it would be next month that we would make that announcement?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we have a couple other things coming up next month. But that should be a pretty quick one, I think.
I would really, first of all, Champaign is actively ticketing. We think the U of I is. If we get a baby killed in Urbana while we sit around dawdling, I think that would be really awful.
Okay.
Yeah, I seem to remember, like, there was an email that was sent to us, like, on our Illinois IDs. I can't remember, like, when.
Can you,
Oh.
you might need to use your,
I don't, oh, okay. I was just saying, I think there was an email that, like a mass mail sent out to us a few months ago. Can't remember exactly, something related to this, that Champaign was ticketing, or you could get ticketed. But I can't remember exactly when or any more
Yeah, I
detail.
think the main, the huge problem is all the people, like the temporary the food delivery people and stuff on Green Street, serving the big high rises, and just parking both sides and in the middle and everything. And so I think they have really cracked down on that. That might have been what that was about. I don't know.
Possibly, I think so. Again, like I can't remember. Like it's been a while since I saw that. By the way, like on this, it feels like it says, no person shall operate any vehicle except bicycles which are not motor driven, which I think excludes scooters.
Yeah, that's what I'm a little confused on what the intent of that was really.
Well, and also e-bikes, right?
Well, electric assist bikes, I think, would still work.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I think, because you're still pedaling.
Right.
But if you're just using the throttle, like the Class 2 e-bikes, those wouldn't, according to this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And skateboards too.
Skateboard.
I think we don't
Skateboards
want
would
that.
still work, I think, because it's not a motor-driven, or not the.
But see, it says any vehicle
Eh.
except bicycles which are not motor driven.
Oh yeah, that's also true.
So we don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was from 1975. So I know at the time bicycles were, I mean, they were overwhelming the campus. That was when we had 4-lane bike path on Wright Street, and so I imagine people in skateboards or maybe even wheelchairs they didn't want in the bike lanes. But yeah, I think we should be able to do something with that to give our officers more power to enforce. Okay, let's move on to the next topic is the long-awaited and anticipated Urbana Bicycle Master Plan update done by two interns that work for Cynthia, Brianna and Thomas. You can come on up and present from the desk there. Were you able to get your presentation on the laptop?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Just kind of an introduction. This is our bicycle master plan was last updated in 2016, and it's supposed to be done every 5 years. So we're kind of trying to push along the first part of that, which would be to one of the first things to do is to look at what was in the 0 to 5 year goals from the old master plan and see how much of that has been accomplished and what there is remaining to do. And then you guys have actually outlined some other ideas for like looking at different changes in use or changes in technology to that could be implemented in a new plan. Okay, take it away.
All right. So today we're presenting the review of the Urbana Bicycle Master Plan. Oh, is it working? Sure.
It needs to be really close.
Okay.
Close.
Is it good now?
Close.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So today we're going over the review of the Urbana Bicycle Master Plan. Let's see. So, wanted to provide our acknowledgments to Coat, City of Urbana, and the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission for their sources and also support in this review. Let's see. So every 5 years, the bicycle network in Urbana needs to have recommendations and progress reviewed. In these reviews, we need to consider the following factors: if the network has progressed as planned, and have the preferences for bicycle routes and like lane design like changed, and let's see. If safety has improved, and have there been significant changes to the transportation infrastructure or land use developments that require reevaluation of the plan. And then also if there are any opportunities to complete network gaps, and if any should be given priority. And then also, are there new bike infrastructure facilities that improve roadway safety that should be considered locally? So last time Urbana was evaluated, it received a gold ranking, which is pretty good. And let's see, so there. You don't see what
Does
the-
this work?
Yeah, it works.
So, I think we all know that Urbana is the only municipality in the state of Illinois with that ranking, which is higher than Chicago and higher than Champaign. However, there's a lot more to be done. It is great to have pride in this ranking, no doubt about that, but I think the bicycle master plan indicated that we wanted to reach platinum, and throughout this presentation, we will explain routes and methods in which we can achieve that goal, because as someone who comes from the suburbs of Chicago and just is amazed by this bicycle network, I do see some deficiencies, and I think that it's very important that the city and this body has like a strong commitment to reaching platinum.
Yes, I agree. And so the recommendations that the league suggests is continuing to expand our bike network through different types of bike facilities, especially as new designs come out, and then providing separated bike infrastructure on higher speed roads, and then expanding our bike education programs to include high schoolers, college students, and new drivers, and then also expanding education through classes to address concerns for adults who do not feel safe riding, and then also develop and coordinate a comprehensive Vision Zero plan, and then also incentivize more businesses to join the bicycle-friendly business program, and then also appoint a staff member to the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator.
And I also, one thing that's not on this slide, but I also want to mention is that the U.S. Department of Transportation, as part of the president's new infrastructure program, they created this new grant called Safe Streets and Roads for All. And in that grant, municipalities, transit agencies, and RPCs can use that money to basically what they can do with the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program. It's basically like a more federalized version of that. And one requirement that cities need in order to apply for implementation grants is to have what is called an action plan. And what an action plan would comprise of, it basically would just like have a goal for safe streets. And a Vision Zero plan is listed as something that would qualify as an action plan. However, given that there's not a Vision Zero plan for the city of Urbana, the city of Urbana really would have a difficult time in applying for that grant. The closest thing that both the city as well as Champaign and the RPC can use is the Champaign-Urbana Area Traffic Safety Plan, which that name may be incorrect, but it was developed by the RPC in 2019, and that is the best that we can do right now. But in the event that such a grant comes up, and this grant will continue for the next 4 years, I think having a Vision Zero plan would help the city, be more competitive in applying for federal grants.
All right. And then this is an overview of the area that was covered in the network improvement goals. So we have on our next slide, the highlighted areas in blue for the routes are the areas that were completed during the 5-year period. So the completed bike lanes and projects. So as you can see, this is Bradley Avenue from Romine Street to, is it Romine? Romine. Yeah. So Romine Street up to Lincoln Avenue. Let's see. So it has the buffered bike lanes designed, but without like the concrete barrier. And then we have our next one, which was part of the M-Core design. So we have a lot of more complex type of cycling infrastructure, to where we have the separation behind the buses, and just like a lot better like visibility overall for people like crossing the street too. Let's see. And then Orchard Street has bike lanes painted on both sides as well.
One thing to note about Orchard Street is it's owned by the U of I's Facilities and Services Division, so of course that was not included in the Urbana Bicycle Master Plan. However, we wanted to include it in this presentation because based on what we've seen, those bike lanes are just isolated from both the U of I's bike network and from Urbana's bike network. And anybody who uses those bike lanes traveling northbound, when they reach Florida Avenue, they utilize Urbana city-owned bicycle buttons. So while the whole bike lane stretch is not owned by the city, it's still, pretty relevant to talk about. However, it'll be very great, like, once the Florida Avenue corridor project is completed, which we'll discuss later, these bike lanes will be unified with both the U of I's bike network and with Urbana's bike network. Because currently, and I myself, I use these bike lanes all the time. I use them today. Anytime I try to go from eastbound Florida to southbound Orchard, I have to actually turn my bike and get onto Orchard Street to press the bike button. And like that whole area is dilapidated. It's just really unsafe. But fortunately, there's actually a plan going on to help fix that. So we'll discuss that in a few minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so the, I lost it. Yeah. Okay, so for the Washington Street, this one's further like out on the edge of like the city limits of Urbana. And so I think this could be a spot where they should maybe consider like further like barrier in the future, just to just have that separation for like cyclists that are on that road. And then the last one we have is Pennsylvania Avenue. This is another one that's owned and maintained by the university, but it does connect into the network for Urbana. Okay. And then these were the completed side path and shared use projects. Both Park Street and Broadway Avenue line Crystal Lake Park. So these two here. And so they provide a very nice path to like go around the park and also connect to the commercial businesses across the street. And then these actually end up connecting to these two as well. This one here is I got my things mixed up. This one is Cunningham. Oh, wait. This one's Cunningham, and then this one is University Avenue.
I think you got it right there.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, B is University Avenue.
Mhm.
I don't know if you could tell, but like, University Avenue was recently like redone by IDOT,
Mhm.
thanks to the Rebuild Illinois program. So that was able to be accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, Cunningham Avenue is C. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So C is Cunningham Avenue, and that also allows for a lot more access for residents that live along this stretch to access commercial areas. Let's see. And then goals underway. So we have the Florida Avenue Corridor Study Area. The project started in the fall of 2020, and they're currently applying for the federal RAISE grant, which will amount to $12 million, and this will fund the engineering and construction costs. Let's see. And then improvements along this area will especially be along Ray Street in Florida, because that's the highest crash intersection. So they will have an off-street shared use path, and then also two-stage left turn bike boxes and bike detection signals, as well as traffic signals at that same intersection, to also include push buttons for pedestrian traffic. And to top it all off, there will be enhanced street lighting.
And this Florida Avenue section is the biggest thing that was not accomplished in the 5 years. This was included in the 5 years, but of course it's not done. So it's actually, most of what we mentioned today was within the 5-year time frame. The Green Street section from Busey to Race is actually in the 10-year time frame, so that was already completed. But the Florida Avenue section is the one major, key component of this 5-year plan that was not accomplished. However, hopefully we can get that done soon in the next 5 years, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the project is expected to be completed in 2025. And as I mentioned before, this will unify a gap that currently exists. It will end that, because there's Orchard Street that's isolated. Florida Avenue's current bike lanes end just before Race Street, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's also a side path on Florida Avenue/Kirby Avenue east of Lincoln. So you have this infrastructure that surrounds this area, but the area itself is currently, doesn't have anything there, so hopefully once this project is completed, it can unify, both Urbana as a city and the U of I as a city. And it's also important to mention that this area is home to a very diverse, very like diverse demographics. As you can see to the east is F Florida Avenue Residence Halls and Pennsylvania Avenue Residence Halls. I myself was a resident of those halls in my freshman year. And then there's obviously Orchard Downs, which is home to graduate students and families. And then there's residential Urbana, which is predominantly single-family homes. And then you have the Arboretum, University President's House, and the athletic facilities. So there's a lot of vehicular traffic. There's a lot of bus traffic. And, if you don't own a car, anything else, trying to get around here is really difficult. So hopefully we can achieve this project in the future.
Okay, and then the next project on the goals underway is the Chinese Goose Bridge. This follows Broadway Avenue, like heading northwards. And the Urbana Park District received the IATEP grant to complete this project. And it'll improve sightlines and then also expand the path from 4 to 10 feet. I personally rode up that bridge on my bicycle, and it was a little bit terrifying because it was so narrow. And so I'm very excited for them to put that in, and it also looks really nice from the concept photos. So the anticipated timeline is bidding's going to start in the wintertime, with construction anticipated to start in the spring and summer, and hopefully be completed by fall of 2023, so that people can enjoy the cooler weather over the park with their new bridge. And then, as you can see, the highlighted section here is where the improvements will be made. Yeah. All right. And then, so goals that were not completed, both of these were supposed to have either sharrows or bike lanes installed on the streets, but they are still very blank, and I don't think they even have like road lines on them, right?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a blank street right now, so.
And one
Yeah.
thing I personally would say about Amber Lane, cars go extremely fast on that section. I have no idea why. I don't know what makes people do that, but it goes cars just go really fast.
Mhm.
So the lack of cycling infrastructure is like, I don't know why that's not there.
Mhm.
I would suggest on a like more citizen biker level to put in bike lanes rather than sharrows, because sharrows that really doesn't help, calm the traffic.
Mhm.
I think the road is wide enough to have bike lanes. There's just no paint on it yet. And then another thing is it's also next to the Urbana Mire, and the Urbana Mire bus stop. There's a lot of pedestrians that use that section, so especially if you're trying to go to the north side shelter, it can get really dangerous, and it's also harder when people are hampered by their groceries. So not even just bike infrastructure, but just general pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure would be needed to help just calm the traffic, because I genuinely do not know why cars have the tendency to go super fast on that section. And Fairlawn Drive, the western section of Fairlawn is connected to, it approaches Urbana Middle School. So as I'm also the Safe Routes to School intern with Cynthia, so the lack of bicycle infrastructure on Fairlawn is something that we kind of noted, and it's kind of needed, because when students want to get from Urbana Middle School into that neighborhood, there's really no sense of protection at all. There's nothing, no markers, no anything. So that's just another thing I wanted to point out. So while these two sections were actually listed more as like bike infrastructure, not necessarily bike lanes or anything, but I would highly suggest for these two sections to have more than just sharrows, something that seems more protected and visible.
Mhm. Okay, so safety analysis. Fluctuation in injuries per year make it difficult to determine if the infrastructure improvements have made an impact on overall safety, especially like in 2021, we saw like another spike. So the graph on the left is the Champaign County portal, data portal, information for the crashes from 2016 to 2020. And then we reviewed the Urbana police data to determine how many crashes were reported this past year, since they haven't posted that data yet. And just based on that, it's like the number of injuries just fluctuates so much. And let's see. But the good news is that no cycling fatalities were reported. So just further analysis to improve, further analysis to see what improvements can be made to prevent injuries. Because, you know, ultimately, or ideally, we want to be at 0 injuries instead of just every year it's like a different number. See. So the next steps are to, so we have updating the Champaign-Urbana Savoy bicycle guided map. That's called Go by Bike. We recommend that we create a digital format so that it can be easily updated for future editions. And then also to include the new designated cycling routes, especially those that have been made over the last 5 years. And let's see, it currently offers several different languages like English, Korean, Mandarin, and then we recommend adding French to those, to the list of language offerings. And see, and then also, in addition to having the digital format, having a mobile app or a mobile-friendly website to allow the guide to be more accessible to users. And for infrastructure improvements, one of the things we suggest is continue extending the side path along University Avenue so that the commuters the people that commute to work on the commercial areas have an easier route, and then also the residential area further to the east can also access the commercial areas to the west around Cunningham.
That particular section in question is between Maple Street and Guardian Drive, right before it enters I-74. Like most other places in the city, there's nothing that exists there. And a major reason why is because it's under the Illinois Department of Transportation's ownership. What makes that area unique is that it's the headquarters of the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District, and it's home to the MTD's maintenance facility as well as their training facility. So there's a lot of bus traffic that goes around, but there's also bus drivers that walk to and from one end of the street to the other end of the street, because the 6 orange bus and the 11 ruby bus, they help transport bus drivers from that maintenance facility to the Lincoln Square transfer point to start bus drivers' runs. But because the 6 orange westbound is on the north side and the maintenance facility is on the south side, I personally have seen a lot of bus drivers just zooming down and up and down the street, trying not to put themselves in danger while also trying to make sure they get to their runs on time. So that's one instance. Another thing that makes that area unique is also the headquarters of the Urbana School District. Most recently, I don't remember exactly when they moved in, but it was pretty recent. So if there's a community member who wants to reach the school district or go to whatever the school district wants to host at that facility, the need for pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure is highly needed. And this is more on a personal level, but I work in the MTD office at least twice a week, and one way I access that facility without using University Avenue is I go on Cottage Grove right before the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks start, and then I cross the NS tracks and then enter the MTD office from the backside. I've also had unlucky occurrences where NS freight trains block those tracks, so I am forced to use University Avenue, and I get really scared to use that. But I'm I have to get to work. So I personally would love to see more, attention to that section. I understand that it's designated as a U.S. highway. I understand that, there's interstate traffic coming off of it and going onto it, but it's not the interstate, and it's not a limited access freeway. It's a neighborhood arterial road. So I think the city should continue pushing and pestering pestering IDOT to, take that section seriously. going into the future.
Could you just clarify, what do you mean by the bus drivers, they need to get across to the north side? So
So-
how do they go up and down the street
So
to get
the maintenance
across?
facility is on the south side
Right.
of University Avenue, and then the westbound lanes
Uh-huh.
are on the north side.
Right, so how do they get over there?
They usually just cross the street. Like
They just wait for a break in
They ju-
traffic and,
they wait for a break in traffic, and then they try to go on to the other side of the street.
okay, I see.
The,
No,
and
no crosswalk or anything?
There's no crosswalk at all.
Okay.
And what makes the situation even worse is that sometimes bus drivers, based on personal issues that they may have, they bring their children along at work. So not only are they, using unprotected infrastructure, their children are also put in danger as well. So-
And this is this a lot of bus drivers going to their starting point of their run? It's not just bus drivers who lack transportation.
No, it's bus drivers. So like runs that start at Lincoln Square, those like bus drivers are transported from the maintenance facility.
That's
over
where
to-
they park their car, is at the maintenance facility, and then they
I would
have
assume
to,
that's the case. I would
Uh-huh.
have to reach out to MT.
and then they have to get across to take the
Yeah,
bus
yeah.
downtown. I see.
Yeah, so, and then some 6 West Orange runs and 6 East Orange runs, there's like a designated employee stop on the MTD property, which is a lot safer. But those are only runs that go from the MTD headquarters, that start and stop from the MTD headquarters. Runs that continue further east on University to like Learman Avenue or Dotson, those are the runs that cause people to have to cross the street and go on the north side. But on this particular issue itself, I would have to reach out to MTD on their maintenance and facility staff to get a better picture on how this occurs. Like, I only go there twice a week, so I may not have like an entire idea of what happens, but these are just instances I see every time I'm over there.
You guys probably weren't listening to the meeting when we discussed the East University resurfacing project, but that's something that IDOT is doing over the next couple of years. So we did weigh in with a letter along with the Park District and some other folks on suggested improvements there, and the crosswalk was on everybody's priority. There was a little bit of difference on whether or not there should be a side path versus bike lanes, and I think the latest update from what I heard is they're going to actually go through with the project farther east from the 150 on up to 74, and they're going to hold off on the rest of the project and do another study and try to figure out good bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. So so these recommendations you guys are talking about, I think will be coming up really soon, probably in the next year. And hopefully some of those will be implemented.
Cool.
I'm
So-
wondering,
oh, yeah.
what about the main getting across Lincoln? That didn't seem to be, was that on the goals or,
Lincoln University is what you're referring to?
no, Maine and Lincoln?
Maine and Lincoln.
Where, like,
Yeah.
it took them how long to get started?
Yeah, they're working on that now, but I don't remember how that fit into the goals. Can you back up to that map that showed the 0 to
Yeah.
5 year goals?
Let's
See what it shows for that.
Let's see. 'Cause, yeah, I see where Maine's here. I don't think it was like expressly depicted in the goals. Unless you see it.
Maine and Lincoln are here.
Mhm.
So it's my understanding that there's nothing in the 5-year plan regarding Maine and Lincoln. I don't even think Lincoln Avenue has any attention into it for this section as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
I think several years ago, or not even several, maybe like 2 decades ago, I don't remember, there was a road diet from a very small section of Lincoln. But
Mhm.
beyond that, I don't think Lincoln Avenue has received any attention. At least it's not apparent in this section, in this document.
Yeah, I think I think that's already. I think it's a bike route now, isn't it? Maine. This just shows goals, so it's not on there. But I think Maine is a bike route, so where it crosses Lincoln, It probably wasn't addressed in the goals because it's an intersection.
But no, and I remember when they like did the traffic count and said, oh my gosh, it like so overreached the criteria for needing
Yeah.
more infrastructure.
Hmm.
And I was just curious that, okay,
Yeah.
somehow,
That's interesting.
and it's like it took them 1,000,000 years to get, well, maybe 5, to get started, and now, like, it doesn't seem to be a priority, but on the other hand, all those cones are slowing things down really nicely, so, you know.
Mhm. Alright.
Okay.
Then, let's see, so going back to reiterating for the league recommendations, let's see, so appointing a staff member to the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator position, I think is a crucial step to, like, really kicking off all of these recommendations from the league, because, when you have that position in place, then you have someone that can focus on, like, those tasks specifically, and also can connect with the community, and really just get the feedback needed to, like, push forward with all the plans, and even, like, help with finding, like, higher priority spots that, that when you have like a team that's all spread out working on it, they might not be able to, like, let me see, yeah, like agree on a spot, whereas if you have like one person that's like coordinating everything, they can help for finding all the spots, and then having, like, delegating the tasks out to everybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes sense, especially like when it comes to grants and education. Those are the two
Mhm.
main things, like, helping to apply for grants and seeing,
Mhm. Yeah, they would be also
being part of
able
our
to help with grant
discussions and
writing.
knowing our priorities and everything. And then,
And being the Vision Zero coordinator as
Yeah.
well, it's extremely hard to get that off the
And
ground
coming up with
without
the
staff
action plan.
resources of some kind.
it's been a
Yeah.
recommendation for a while, but we'll just have to keep coming up
Yeah.
with arguments for that.
Yeah.
And then another thing that would go off from that, I understand there's staffing issues everywhere, so this could be a long-term goal, but many cities across the country have developed positions called active transportation planners.
Mm.
So I don't know I'm not familiar with how Urbana's planning and development staff structure is like, but maybe having something like that in the future, to have like multiple planners and an active transportation emphasis would be
Mhm.
very helpful. Probably to either complement this bike and ped coordinator, or to probably just be the bike and ped,
Mhm.
guidance throughout the city.
Yeah, because I've seen listings for those positions a lot in, like, major metro areas where they're trying to get a lot of projects done. And I think that would be, like Thomas said, a really great addition to the staff, like, for Urbana, to just be able to accomplish, like, more goals with more, like, deliberation. And let's see. And then, because, like, I know there's, like, staff that, kind of wear a little bit of that hat everywhere. So,
Kat, do you know if, since the comp plan is being redone, is that something that we should advocate goes into the comp plan, that they start planning for a bicycle, pedestrian, active trans coordinator, something like that?
That's probably separate from the comp plan document itself. It's probably more staffing oriented, but I'm not entirely sure about that.
Just seems like it's a little bit of a strategic goal, because we're saying, 15% of our population uses active transportation to get to work, and it's a big
Mhm.
percentage, bigger than most, so
mm.
it ought to be a kind of strategic thing that I was thinking might be appropriate, but yeah, we can talk about that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also another thing I wanted to note was the league did a study where they found that like cities with more of those staff involved in active transportation had a higher number of people cycling, and since that is like Urbana's like big goal, like I think that would be, a great way to like help get more people like on the streets, and then as they see more people are interested in using that cycling infrastructure, it'll be easier to argue for more funding for projects.
Okay.
And
I
then,
was
yep.
gonna,
That's
Oh.
it.
yeah, just
Yep.
one last thing I was gonna mention. This is a little more just my own personal experience. I feel like Urbana, along with Champaign, could really be a model for like trying to transition people into cycling, especially since a large swath of the U of I's undergrad population is from the suburban Chicago region. I myself am one of those individuals, and while there are some suburbs that have invested in bike infrastructure, most of that's recreational. But any investment in more like commuting and on-street bike lanes, that's really not present in the suburbs of Chicago. And a lot of suburbanites are just accustomed to driving everywhere. There really isn't people, when you ask someone from the suburbs, like, do you ride a bike? They'll probably say yes or no. And if they do say yes, they'll probably be something recreational, or they'll probably say, I never learned how to ride a bike because there was never a need to. So I feel like for students coming down here, transitioning into like bike riding could help them really like challenge their notion of how to get around. It's really challenged my notion of how to get around. I bike to work, I bike to school, I bike to do, whatever personal activity. I've never done that before in my life. The last time I used a bike before getting into college was probably in middle school. I kind of never did it in high school. And in high school, like if I were to bike to high school, it would probably take me like up to 25 minutes given the sprawling nature of suburbs, whereas Urbana High School is like 5 minutes from my apartment. So I feel like further improving Urbana's bike infrastructure will not only benefit people who live here and who would want to move here, but U of I students who are residing here for their 4 years or their 2 years or for however long they're here, like it'll really help transition them into cycling. So I feel like Urbana and coupled with Champaign, these two cities could be like gold star models on active transportation lifestyles.
Mm-hmm. And then especially since U of I students work like all over the country, they can go into their new communities and be like, hey, I really liked this lifestyle when I was in college, and I want to see that where I am now. And either, you'll have people like advocating for more like active transportation, just all across like the U.S.
So how closely did you guys work with Gabe at RPC on this, and how much of this will he be able to use? Because I guess from what I understand, RPC is being contracted for an update on our bike master plan.
Are they, or are they doing the gold-friendly application?
Oh yeah, that's right, for the gold. So to reapply for the gold. So nobody's
Yeah.
really been contracted for an
Right.
update.
I don't
Okay.
think we're there yet.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to check to see. I don't know how that's going to work. Okay. So
Could you
this
back
is a
up
start,
one
I guess. This is our start on the update, and
It's great, yeah.
it's a really good start. Really
you
appreciate all the
back
work
up
you've
one?
done.
Thank you. Did you want me to go back up a slide?
Yeah, one slide,
one?
because I thought you were going to go through more of these things.
Oh,
but
yeah, this is mostly like
you
a
did
repeat.
discuss them earlier.
Yeah,
I
this is
see.
like a repeat of like the initial
Yeah,
slide, just kind
you
of like
discussed
in
them
summary,
earlier.
the recommendations again. And I was surprised how few businesses there are in Urbana and Champaign that are not like bicycle friendly. I feel like Urbana has the potential to have like a whole just like network of bicycle friendly communities. And that's something I'm hoping to like work on next, like with Cynthia's guidance and just getting more business owners involved.
So that would be the bicycle-friendly business designation. That's something that a lot of communities have. The Champaign MCD is considered a bike-friendly business. It's similar to the bike-friendly communities status. Like a city is officially recognized as bike-friendly by the LAB. So it's a similar designation given to businesses. So one thing we've noticed is that a lot of Urbana businesses don't have that designation, whether it's not a question of they're actually not bike friendly. It's more of like they probably don't know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to apply
Yeah.
to get like this recognition. So I just wanted to clarify that they're not businesses that are actually physically unbike friendly. It's
Mhm.
just more of the designation itself.
Yeah, because when I was doing a review for like business owners to like contact. There were a lot of like really great candidates, especially like Common Ground, like several businesses around like downtown Urbana that have all the like qualities to be a bicycle friendly business. They just don't have the certification yet. And then having that certification can, it's a way to like have like more engagement, and then just get people like to ride their bikes over to those businesses, because they're like, okay, I know that I can ride and park my bike here, and that it'll be a safe spot for me to go to.
Yep. Another thing that a bike coordinator could help
Mm-hmm.
with, go to UBA meetings and talk to people about how to apply for a bike-friendly business designation.
Apple seminars.
Yeah, okay. I think also I really appreciated your thoughts on Fairlawn Avenue, because I know that's been in the capital improvement plan for resurfacing, and they've kind of keep putting it off, but and it would be challenging, but I think Annie especially was thinking that would make a good kind of greenway or something. But it would be really challenging. It'd be something you'd have to look at property by property, because some places aren't sidewalks, other places where people have trees that you'd have to knock down and stuff like that. And it's a bus route and things like that. So there's a lot to consider there, but hopefully maybe we can ask Public Works to give that some special attention and ask our recommendation on that. All right, thanks a lot. Where do you go from here? Are you still interns for a while, or?
Well, I will continue being the Safe Routes to School intern with Cynthia. Last week we just did our Earn a Bike program, so I guess this is an impromptu like Safe Routes to School announcement. But last week we did the Earn a Bike program with the Damoy Boys and Girls Club in Champaign, and that was pretty successful. We had 6 students who participated, and at the end of the program, they got a free bike, and they were able to learn traffic skill and maneuvers. And we took them on a bike ride within campus as well as into Urbana. Part of their bike rides included getting ice cream at the Culvers in Urbana as well as the Common Ground. And one thing that we're also continuing to plan right now is Walk and Roll to School Day, which will be October 12th of 2022. It'll be the proper conclusion that we'll have to CU Bike Month. That's also being planned. That's CU Bike Month's being planned on a more multi-agency basis, with the Safe Routes to School project participating. So those are the 2 things that we've recently done and that we're currently doing. One thing that we also did, I think Cynthia mentioned at the May meeting, was Bike and Roll to School Day, which was at the Urbana High School. With that, that program differed from the other programs that we did in the past because it was a first-time partnership with the Project Ignition Club, which is the Urbana High School's like driver education safety organization. So we partnered with them and hosted a big bike station at the Urbana High School. And we also had other volunteers go into local elementary schools and distribute materials to students who signed up for them. So that's what I've been doing at Safe Routes to School previously and going forward, and that's what I'll be doing at least for the next semester.
And then my plans are to do my capstone project on like helping like business owners get involved with the bicycle friendly business program, and then analyzing like how effective of a program it is, and then seeing like what other types of like incentives could be like come out of that, like creating like routes for employees to like use to either use their bike, scooter, anything with wheels, like safe paths that they can use to commute to their place of work. And then let me see. So yeah, that, and then just also going over what type of criteria that's used to accreditate being a bicycle friendly business. And so I'm excited about that. And then also I'm planning to still volunteer with like Bike and Roll and then Safe Routes, all those Safe Routes stuff like during the semester too.
All right, great, thanks a lot. And so you've sent us, I think there's a report besides the presentation that's a more formal 20 or 30 page report,
Yeah, the
right?
Yeah.
report goes much more into detail of each road section that we went over. This was just a general overview of like what was completed, what was not
Mhm.
completed, whereas the report will give you a more detailed, explanation of
Okay.
like when
So
was it
everybody, I
completed.
think, did you send that out to everybody? Did that go out?
I will do it first thing.
Okay.
Because I, at this moment,
Okay.
fully intended to, and I don't know if
Yeah.
that's good or not.
So everybody should get the PDF of the full report, and
Mhm.
if you have any comments or corrections, just send it back to Brianna. Or,
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I saw just a couple little things I was gonna comment on, but yeah, just
Okay.
little things.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Mhm.
All
I wanted
right.
to make a quick comment to Brianna and your capstone. I know something that we talk about a lot is correct kinds of bike racks, bike rack spacing, and just
Mhm.
having bike racks. And so if you're already talking to business owners and getting them engaged, it may be a way for you to like help us further
Mm.
just like not the designation so much as just being a more accessible bike friendly community. Just like not adding to your workload, but since
Yeah.
you said that it was going to be an effort of yours that you're moving forward and you're already, putting effort into contacting people, I think that could be really awesome.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that, because there were some businesses that we've been by where they have really old bike racks that, like, probably at the time they were put in, were like, it's like, it's fine, but now they would not be recommended because they're, not the right design. They damage wheels, like the one by Don, what was it, Don Meyer, that had the one that was really narrow? It was like you
That's
can't
under
put your wheel in it.
Champagne's jurisdiction, of
Oh,
course,
gotcha.
that's just
But I've seen those in Urbana too, and it's like it's hard to like lock your bike to it, and so it also like potentially damages your bike. And then I've also seen a lot of I've seen like quite a few bike racks that are like corroded and like slowly falling apart. So that would be another thing that I would want to address for like businesses that are interested in that program, like getting them the new like bike racks that they need. And just having, because I've definitely found that even like for myself, just having like a place where I feel like my bike is secure, like locking it to it and it's easy to lock to, then I'm more likely gonna want to like use those facilities.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. And I know the Park District has a lot fewer sites for bike racks than you'd be talking about in the city of Urbana, but just using like ArcGIS Online and Survey 123 could really
Mhm.
easily be like, this is the location, this is the condition, this is the kind of rack,
Mhm.
maybe, you can't make the full inventory happen, but if you can even hand off some of that information of where there's
Yeah.
infrastructure's lacking and so on, I think it could be a
Mhm.
really interesting project.
Yeah, that'd be cool to do, because we did that in the pedestrian, what was it called again? Yeah, the Walk Audit, yeah. Yeah, we did, we used that app in the Walk Audit, and I do think that would be like another great use of that app for like marking where like bike racks could be replaced, and then also any potential like infrastructure like improvements that are like either adhering or what's the word I'm thinking? Obstructing traffic. And then also, I know there was information on like where the bicycle friendly grates are, like on the streets, but if there's any that haven't been like marked yet, that I think that would also be like another great use of that, because you can go out and mark it's like it's right here. Exactly, yeah.
By the way, I would recommend using Field Maps. It's a newer app. It's
Okay.
like a collector-ish.
Mm-hmm.
With Survey 123, the problem that I found was like when volunteers, there are like several volunteers, only the user can see what they have done.
Okay.
But with Field Maps, once you pinpoint your location, every volunteer can see, okay, this is collected or this is there. Just FYI.
Okay, thank you.
I have this, it's a question as a citizen of Urbana, but Urbana has a bike rack ordinance, or bike parking ordinance, correct? And
They have
could you
a,
go over how that?
they have bike rack recommendations in their zoning ordinance, I
Mhm.
think. Is that right?
The requirements, yeah, for new uses in existing buildings or any new construction.
Okay,
Mhm.
So
that was
there's-
my understanding, and I blessed that that exists.
Yeah, I was glad that that information was out there, because especially when I was first learning about like the design of everything, just having like a guide that says this is good and this is why this one is bad.
Yeah, and there's a pamphlet, or there used to be a pamphlet, do we still have that, that shows the good and, the types of recommended racks and stuff?
I think so.
I think that might still be out there. Now that just, I don't know if that, I mean, it's enforced when they first put it in, but you can't go back, like somebody that put it in the 70s before we had quick release wheels and stuff, and all you had to do was throw a cable lock over your front wheel. You can't go back and say, now you got to change it. But we can encourage it and figure out ways to encourage it to upgrade those. Okay, thanks a lot. Good luck, and we'll hope to see you again sometime.
Thank you.
Thanks for your lunch.
Excellent presentation.
We do have to, we need to elect a vice chair. That's in our bylaws, and since Cynthia was our vice chair, we need to elect a new one. The chair is appointed by the mayor, but the vice chair is elected in our bylaws. So, do we have any volunteers or nominations for vice chair?
Could you describe what the
Describe the
duties are?
Yeah. Well, with Cynthia, and I actually don't know if there's any specified duties in the bylaws, but I think the way it's been working is that for the meeting agenda, I usually consult with Cynthia. So Lori and John will send anything that was brought up at the last meeting to me and ask me if I have anything to add, and then I'll ask Cynthia if she has anything to add, and I'll kind of coordinate that. So mostly for setting agendas, but if I'm not here, then you would run the meeting. Other than that, I don't think there's any official duties. Can you guys think of anything else? No? No. I think you're volunteering, Audrey, is that right?
Possibly.
Okay.
I think you could you ask all the members for agenda items?
For what?
Would it be possible to send out a question for agenda items, or is that basically implied? I think it is when you send out. Well, by the time we receive the agenda, it's set. So
Yeah.
you'd have to send it out earlier to ask if people have agenda items that they've thought of since the last meeting.
But we also do the future items at the meetings,
We
too.
do it at the
Yeah,
last meeting,
we
but
do
if
the
something
future
comes up.
items. So that's kind of been our starting point, is the future items.
Right.
And then I just kind of consulted with Cynthia. We could, send out a general announcement, but then there'd be a little bit more,
Negotiations.
maybe horse trading or something to get it down to three, get it
Right.
down to
But
three
I've always
items.
felt like if I had something that I wanted on the agenda, but I like how we do it with, planning with the future items, because then like things are spaced out, so we're not feeling like we have to be here till whatever.
Yeah. I think the thing I like about it too with the future items is that you get a sense of how many people are engaged with that item.
Right.
Is it just one person that, is interested in that being on the agenda, or is it 2 or 3 people?
Yeah.
So I do kind of like going over it at the meetings.
Right.
But yeah, there's not a lot of responsibility. It would mostly be being able to fill in if I'm not here, and then since we can't get together with more than 3 people. Sometimes just the chair and vice chair might consult on an issue, if an agenda item, or the order of things we should do or something. Anyone else volunteering? Okay. What do you think, Audrey? Want me to do it?
Okay.
Okay. And I think this is actually supposed to be an annual thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's only a year.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you're
Oh,
not
good.
committing for 4 years,
Okay, so is there a motion to nominate Audrey Ishii as vice chair?
I nominate Audrey Ishii to be the new vice chair.
Second,
Okay, moved by Sue and seconded by
Nancy.
Nancy. Sorry. Spacing out. I was on the train for like 48 hours last week. We got delayed 14 hours in North Dakota. Okay, so I'm still recovering. Motion by Sue and second by Nancy. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. I think I skipped staff reports. Kat, did you have an update?
I do. John sent me a short list of updates. I'll just run through it real quick. IDOT's multi-year program, fiscal year 23 through 28, hasn't been released yet. It's expected in August, unless he gets a better update from his IDOT rep. The proposed bike accommodations for University Ave from Maple to Guardian will be made public once that multi-year program is released. An update on the EQL projects. 14 small projects meet the EQL criteria. The projects primarily consist of new sidewalks to fill in gaps, new streetlights to fill in gaps, and requests for traffic safety improvements. Those mostly begin with speed studies and/or engineering safety studies. Each project has been assigned a priority score by the executive department. Engineering will estimate budgetary costs and map the locations. And in August, Carol Mitten and John Zeman will present the projects to BPAC for the commission's review and input. A couple construction updates. Lincoln and Springfield resurfacing project will be complete by August 12th. The Ray Street resurfacing project from Washington to California will be complete by August 15th. And the Windsor Road resurfacing from Champaign Boundary to Ray Street will be complete by the end of August. So those three wrapping up in August. And then traffic engineering studies in 2022. The city will hire a consultant to conduct a traffic engineering study for Vine Street from Main to University, not including the intersections, those intersections, so Main and University. The consultant will also conduct speed studies at the following locations: Broadway between University and Country Club Road, Kerr Avenue between Broadway and Cunningham, Cottage Grove at Fairlawn Drive, Anderson Street between Washington Street and Florida Avenue, Crystal Lake Drive between Broadway Avenue and Cunningham, and Glover Avenue between Illinois and Green Street. That's all I got.
Was there anything for Washington Street speed study?
The only thing for Washington I have is Anderson Street between Washington and Florida, so not Washington specifically.
Okay. So I think, and then that one from Maine to University on Vine, that was as a result of our concerns about the crash there, I think, in front of Schnucks that killed the guy in the scooter.
I believe so.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Any questions for staff?
What was the Cottage Grove stretch again? Sorry.
Cottage Grove at Fairlawn Drive.
So there's not a speed study on Washington Avenue per se? We were thinking that would be a good spot for a star sign.
I think the Washington Street and Anderson Street intersection will be included in that, but it doesn't say specifically.
And that may also have been inspired by some crashes there.
I would think so, yeah.
You know, the fatality.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Any announcements?
Yep. So we just had our bike month meeting last week, and the Bike to Work Day will be organized on, let me get it right, Wednesday, September 14th from 7 to 10 a.m. with a rain date of Friday, whichever Friday that is, like 16th. Okay. Light the Night is going to be Thursday, September 15 from 4 to 7 p.m. and rain date of Tuesday, September 20th. other than that, we are I'm working on the abandoned bicycles thing. So our plan is like this week, the bicycles will be removed from campus that still have the orange tags. Some of you may have seen those.
What was September 20th?
That's the rain date for
Oh,
like,
rain
the
date.
night.
Rain date. Okay. Thanks. Any other announcements?
I'll just mention on the Erna bike that there was also volunteers from VR Bikes, the Bike Project, Champaign County Bikes, and maybe the City of Urbana. I'm not sure. At least Lily was there. I don't know if she was sent as a rep. But yeah, so it was good participation.
Did you go to the King Day Park? The park. What's that day?
The Jetty Roads
Yeah.
Day? No, because of the rain.
Oh,
We
okay, it
didn't
rained
go
that day,
and
okay.
set
I
up.
was out of
I
town.
don't think there were very many attendees there. And they did end up having to shut it down because of the.
Okay. So yeah, we do need two.
Lightning.
We're still looking for 2 members. If you guys know anybody that would be interested in BPAC, especially people from unrepresented areas of town. I don't know. We're mostly central Urbana. Maybe if there's, I don't know actually where you live. Okay, but yeah, if you think of people that would represent areas or factions that we don't have current representation for, feel free to get them to go to the website and download an application or send them an application.
I'm going to be moving to Wine and Wash. Wine in Michigan. Is that central Urbana?
Yeah,
Pretty much,
pretty much.
yeah.
Also, I think, Sarthak, I think you as a U of I rep don't actually have to live in
Yeah,
Urbana.
that's true. You
Nor
don't even
does
have to live in
Kara as
Urbana as a U of I
UPD
person.
rep.
Yeah, no, but I'm still
Yeah.
moving.
That's good.
It's an amount.
Okay. There's no requirement for somebody from city council to be on BPAC. It's been kind of a tradition for the chair to be a city council member. So that's how I became chair. I haven't heard from the mayor that any other city council members are interested enough that she would replace me, but if they are, then I will.
Well,
But
yeah.
then I could either
don't-
be another member or take a break or something.
Don't they all have assignments already? Do they all have assignments already? The present city council members
yeah,
would
I'm
be
not
taking on an
sure.
extra load.
I think
they?
most of them do have assignments. I'm not sure about Jaya. Jaya is a potential BPAC person. I think she had some interest. Yeah. So we'll see if anybody else on council is interested. I'm sure they could, but it's not in our bylaws or anything like that. For future topics, next month, Kat mentioned that Carol and John will be presenting the EQL projects, equality of life. Also, Andrea Rudy contacted me and said that they will have a chapter on existing conditions of bike and pedestrian infrastructure in the planning comp planning document. What's the first thing called?
Examine Urbana. It'll be a story map presentation.
Yeah, okay. So it's not quite Imagine Urbana, but it's the
Ex-
prequel.
Examine. Yeah, that's what they're characterizing the existing conditions as.
Okay. So anyway, they'll have a chapter on that that they want some input on. So they will send a link to that beforehand. So those 2 items for sure. And then Bruce is pretty much ready with his e-bike presentation. So that would be 3 good size items already. But the e-bike, we could also put that off if anybody has anything more urgent.
Well, I'd like to see the resolution sent on to council, so we would have to put it on the agenda in order to vote.
Resolution for the ordinance change for bike
Right.
parking? Okay. I
if
think that should
whatever
be-
it takes, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
You might need to send me a reminder in like 2 weeks.
About
Just for me to
doing the
work on this.
resolution,
Yeah, I
or-
think it's, yeah, it should be pretty straightforward, but it could be a one-pager that we just vote on, I think.
I could just re-forward you a whole string of emails. We discussed some of this before.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just, to tell you the truth, I just became, besides having it on our goals and having on the agenda that we're going to look at our goals, this death in Chicago just was really, like, we can't wait any longer. And it came up in the paper, so it just seems like it's time to go.
Okay. Any other future topics? I think we'll keep project goals on there as, review of project goals in case there's something that we need to review or that we've accomplished. Not project goals, BPAC goals. Does that sound good? Okay, seeing no further business then, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.